Well, I'm on the farm today. It's June the 6th, and thought I'd give you a hay update for June. And I'll be taking the Model 50 out for a little spin while we chit-chat. Over here I've got my Kubota fertilizer spreader parked in this building, and I've got the Lely, the old Lely, which is rusted out bad, sitting outside. I'll show you that here in just a little bit, or drive by it. See if this thing will start. Pretty amazing. I basically took the Kubota spreader out of my barn and put it over here to make room for more hay. So right there's the Lely, and like I said, it's rusted out really bad. And I got a friend of mine who's collecting scrap steel for a charity, and I'm gonna give it to him. I'm gonna give him the drive shaft and everything. I don't need any of that. It served its purpose. It was rusted really bad when I started using it, and just got progressively worse. So we got the Kubota spreader, which is basically a Vicon. We've been really busy on this farm, working in the hay fields. I've shown some videos, cutting some hay. I got more videos of that coming. I don't want to bombard you with so many hay cutting videos or hay videos. Kind of spread it out a little bit, so I thought I'd work in a hay update. Right there's one of my old kicker wagons, and this is our west field, and we cut and bale this hay. You know, the yield was a little better than in our east field. When you watch this video, you've already seen me cutting hay on our east field. There's just a video with me in the cab talking and using my camera, and then there's a camcorder video my wife made, and then I got a drone video probably put up after this one, maybe, you know, cutting that same field, but it kind of gives you three different perspectives of the Massey 1105 and the Krone at work. And the wind's blowing. I apologize if it sounds really windy. I can't do anything about the rain or the wind. Truth of the matter is, I can't do a whole lot of much anything, regardless of what it is. So this is our low ground down in here. And we moved in here and cut this, and we actually baled this yesterday. The yield on this was actually pretty good. It was a lot heavier than my other fields, and part of it is it stays moist down in here, and in that tree line, while sun gets on it on this field, it kind of keeps it from burning up. So we just have a lot of obstacles to get around. There's an old stump out there, and then these trees, and we need to clear these things out. And what I'd like to do is to merge this field with our east field our west field up there, and cut them all at the same time. But I'll be definitely working on that over the winter. And there's an ash tree back over here I'll be working on. But it's already starting to spring back. We're cutting with a 5-inch stubble this year, and trying to get the hay off the ground so it'll dry, but also that for a second cut, maybe we'll have a better chance at it. But it's also difficult to rake down in this bottom when you're going around all this stuff to make so we miss a little bit of hay, like right over in here, and I do the best I can to get it in the baler, you know, and to rake it up, but it's difficult. We also had issues with high winds. After we cut the hay, we had some really high winds, and it blew a lot of sticks and leaves out of this tree line down here. And I know people don't like sticks and leaves, and there's a stick over there I threw out of the field. But you know, I tried to get everything I could. I think there were sticks in here that were the size of a straw, but it's just, in these mountains of Virginia, these small fields, you have tree lines to deal with, and it's just not a whole lot you can do about it. Thought I'd jump off right here. While we still have some timothy in all of our fields, the timothy excels in this field right here because of the same conditions I spoke about earlier. And you know, right there's timothy. I love timothy, and we're kind of shifting to a mixed grass hay for a variety of reasons. And one thing, you know, farming, you kind of have to do is separate your personal preferences to some degree and the financial realities of your haying. And we'll probably revisit timothy at some point, but I feel like doing my due diligence, I need to give just the mixed grass a chance, and consider my production costs against the time spent maintaining it, and then the bottom line, what's left over after expenses. And so if it was up to me, I'd grow timothy all the time, and we used to do that. But anyway, I'll move on. I don't really try to get up against those trees anymore. So there's a little hay left around them, and we'll just put a bush hog to that. It just takes too much time sometimes to dive into these corners and trim, you know, trim with a 9-foot mower conditioner like you're trimming with a 21-inch push mower. So I also stayed off the edge of the woods. Normally I would cut right up against the edge of the woods, but because of all the limbs we had from the windstorm, I was a little reluctant to do that. Because we didn't fertilize, our yields are down, and they're down significantly, probably 2/3. And so as a result of that, I'm probably going to come back in here with my sickle mower and try to mow some of these areas. Try to mow the face of that bank up there. I used to mow it previously, but you know, I'll make some cow hay off of those areas. One thing about lower yield is, you know, I've had a little bit of help on this go round of haying. One of my boys has been with me to help out. Another one's been here, you know, been in and out. Even my daughter tedded some hay for me. And but for the most part, because of the reduction in the volume of hay, it's been gravy as far as you know, getting this stuff up. We fill up our wagons and go to the barn, and that's it. You know, we're not trying to unload wagons on the fly. And so that's worked out pretty good, and it gives me kind of a window in what it needs to be like really when I retire, and if it's just me. It's not bad. It's actually not bad. Obviously the money's less, but from a logistics standpoint, it definitely works better. And when I talk about logistics, what I'm really referring to is, you know, one man with a full-time job, and even in retirement, you know, there's a limit physically to how much I'm going to be able to just throw around. And but this little plateau right here, we mowed this and baled it at the same time we did our low ground. So the next thing we'll be doing is we'll be moving over the hill and cutting what hay we have up there. This is our east field right here, and we cut that and baled it. I didn't rake up a bunch of hay right up in here. We got a lot of sweet vernal grass in here that just looks like trash, so I just chose just to let it lay. And I might overseed in here with some teff grass in this field in particular. I might try to do that this upcoming weekend to try to thicken up this stand a little bit for a second cutting. Don't know that I'll put any fertilizer down. I'd like to, but I just don't feel like I want to spend the money. And I've got the teff seed. I was going to put it over there, but I think it might work better if I put it in this field and maybe let the rain kind of wash it down, and whatever I get's whatever I get. The seed's old, so it may not, nothing may germinate at all. I've got video baling this field, and it went really well. The biggest surprise I've had this year baling hay has been how quickly it has dried off, almost to the point of being straw. In the video you saw me cutting hay with the Massey 1105 prior to this one. The hay was really wet. We just come off several days of rain, but I had a window to bale, and I just felt like, you know, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. And but by the time we got around to baling this hay, it was extremely dry. And those impellers on that Krone mower conditioner are very, very effective. And again, we cut it a 5-inch stubble, and you know, the hay's really bouncing back. I kind of hate to drive over it like I'm doing, but it's my hay deal. I guess I'll do whatever I want. Again, I didn't cut in along these tree lines because there's some limbs, and we need to trim some of the limbs. Those limbs like that will knock the cab off my Massey 1105, but that's okay. There's the other Model 50. People have asked me if it's running, and the answer is yeah. I kind of got a jury rig to start it, but it's actually running. I leave the tractors running as much as I can. We'll get off here to walk through the barn and do a little more hay update talk. I subscribe to the, with the exception of my John Deere, I subscribe to the airplane rule with a lot of these old tractors. Once you get them going, don't turn them off, because it's the takeoff and landings that'll cause you problems. By the way, all this needs bush hogged in here. I need to get that before it gets away from me. And we got a reunion coming up in July, and so once I get past the hay, and I'll be doing some serious sprucing up around here as far as mowing goes. I don't think I'm gonna make it look as nice as if I was gonna sell it, but it's not for sale anyway. Here's my John Deere 5055D. It's a 2014 model. the backbone of this farm. And it smells really good in this barn. 348 baler, John Deere. That's my hay preservative tank. We didn't have to use that. We had it ready to go. Number 442 ejector. And we got a couple of wagons in here with hay we need to unload. But we've got some hay stacked in here. We've already had some people buy hay. We had one customer that bought hay off our wagons as we baled it, and they took a fair amount of hay. And so that helped us as far as not having to stack in the in this barn. And I've got it kind of segregated. I've got a little gap between some of these piles depending on which field it came from. And we'll probably unload this hay over here and then pull this wagon up and unload that hay over there too, so we actually know what we got. My Farmall 350, we actually used it to hustle some of these wagons. I'll have a video on that. It's an awesome sounding tractor when it's got a kicker wagon full of hay on the back of it. It really grunts and barks. But it's got a flat tire over here. I need to fix that. We can air it up and it'll hold for about an hour and then it's flat again. But all we need is a few minutes to get hay off of those fields and into this barn. We will not be taking this tractor over the hill, obviously, for safety reasons, especially with a kicker wagon on the back. But I've resisted the temptation to slime these tires. I want to replace the rubber. They actually have tubes in them. I think in an earlier video I didn't think they did, but they do have tubes in them. And the reason we know that is because we just about shoved the valve stem down into the tire, and that caused a little stress. But this is a dandy machine for hauling wagons around, at least on flat ground. And so I've been asked, one of the comments on one of the videos was, am I going to put the 350 on the baler? And I didn't know if they were talking about the square baler or the round baler, but this year the answer is no. And we need to just kind of continue to work with this thing and figure out what we got. I need to change all the fluids in it, and I've got a few things I want to do just from a maintenance standpoint. So we're not going to like really slam this thing in a heavy way, just light duty. We're taking the long view with this Farmall 350. We're not really interested in destroying it before we ever get to use it. So I had some people ask about the 335 round baler. I did move it around just to get it out of the barn, so we could pull these wagons in and out of here. And there's some chunks missing off some of the, I hooked it up to the PTO on the Farmall and just ran it. I don't see them here right now, but there's actually some chunks missing off the face of the belt on some of these belts. So it may be that this coming winter, I just replace these belts. But once we get to that phase, we'll probably run it, find a warm day and really run it. Maybe lay some hay out on the ground, some old hay, and just try to make a round bale. But I have every reason to believe that what we need here is maintenance, not normal maintenance. And when I say that, I'm not talking about grease and twine. What I'm talking about is belts And you know, we need to check all the bearings. There may be a bearing that needs to be replaced. And so want to kind of be sure we do our due diligence. We're not ready to cut a field and try to bale it with this 335. That'll come, but if I'm up here by myself and I got a field full of hay down and I'm not ready to square bale, then it would be a disaster to knock a field down and have something wrong with this baler. I'd also like to put a moisture meter in it and a hay preservative applicator on it, and I got some ideas on how to do that. So right now it's just kind of waiting in the wings for us to give it a good going over. So I think I got a really good baler here, but I want to make sure it's in perfect condition and everything's tuned up as it should be before I put it in the field. And part of that maintenance is, even if we don't replace the belts, if we just pull them off and measure them, you know, we want to replace the splices up there on all these belts. And one thing I noticed on this baler, and I went out and looked at some used balers. One of them was a 335. I think it was a 446. The belts on those seem to be really tight coming up off of this roller. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of a gap right there. You know, you can kind of push in on all these belts. Well, maybe not that one, but this one, this one, this one. I feel like these belts need to be taken off and measured, and they stretch over time. And pull them off and measure them, cut them back to the right length, and then relace them, whether I replace the belts completely or not. But there is, I don't see it here, but I could see it when I was up on top of a hay wagon here not too long ago. There's some chunks of belting missing off this surface on some of the belts. It's not big, it may be insignificant, but I want to be sure we address that. So then the question arises, what am I going to do with this field? And I think we're going to cut it and bale it up for just cow hay. I mean, there's some grass in here. I have no idea what it is, but you can kind of see it, a green, some kind of green grass kind of permeating some of this stuff. There's some stickweeds and things over in there, but if I sell it for cow hay, I mean, sometimes I'll pick some of that stuff out of the cut hay, but if we knock the price down and sell it for cow hay, it'll be fine to have some of that stuff in it. At least it's not briars and sticks of autumn olive. And we're seeing hay prices. We're seeing hay prices really high already. We'll see a few people that have the same hay prices they've had for years, which is really low. But I'm not sure why they're doing that. I'm sure that hay will be snatched up really quick. I felt like I gave the customer a good price. Our pricing on hay, and I'm not going to say what it is, but we're not the highest, but we're not the lowest either. And our bales are a little bit shorter than most bales, so I take that into account when I set my price. But I will say this, first cutting hay, I've never charged as much as I have this year for hay. So I don't know what you guys are doing that are haymakers that watch this channel, but given the cost of twine and fertilizer and you know, diesel, even parts for the tractors, is becoming so expensive. And the customers that bought the hay, they completely understood the need for a higher price. And I was you know, there's always one customer that says it's not worth it, and they know more about haying and the actual cost of production than the people have done it for many, many years. So I usually let them buy the It's Not Worth It hay from somebody else. This old New Holland 68 here, giving serious thought to parking it at the road and selling it. The Heston, I may use it this year. I need to get a new hydraulic hose for it, and the never-ending thing. We need to build more wagons, and I just can't seem to get to it. But I will one of these days. Need to do some work on that rake. That would be a great rake for the Model 350 Farmall, because it's got a dolly wheel, easy to hook up, and then such a tight turning tractor. But you know, I mentioned in videos that we're fully capitalized on this farm. I would still like to have a 15-foot batwing, maybe a 10-foot bush hog. I would really like to have a 15-foot, but I don't know. The problem with the 15-foot is it needs a tractor big enough to pull it, and a 10-foot I could probably put it on a couple of tractors. So we'll see. Still running. All right, I'll come back. So on the bad news front, the Massey 1105 over there, I don't know if you can see it or not, it's down for the count. And I had taken the mower conditioner off my Krone, and I was gonna put the John Deere on it just to get out of the sun and run the AC down my back. And so I took the mower conditioner off, and probably drove about 50 yards, and I heard a loud clunk, and I looked behind me, and the 3-point hitch, the quick hitch, was on the ground. And so I jumped off the tractor and looked real quick, and then I shut it down. And that tractor has got lift cylinders for the 3-point hitch, and one of the hoses burst. And luckily I caught it and I shut it down, or it could have been a real mess. So I've got the hoses off both lift cylinders. I'm gonna have them made up and put it back on, and then top it off with some hydraulic fluid, and then hopefully we get that thing back in service. I'd like to run it up on the hill. If I can't, then that's where maybe the Heston comes in, the 1110 Heston on my John Deere. And I've got a video running on First Cut, which I'll show you at some point. The Krone on my John Deere 505 5D, which I've never done before. But anyway, we'll get that thing repaired. But back to my point about the bush hog 15-foot batwing. You know, that's the only tractor, that Massey's the only tractor that'll run one of those on this farm. I'd like to find, you know, I really don't want to spend a pile of money on any more equipment, but I wouldn't mind having, in addition to the 15-foot batwing, an International 886 that's in good shape with cab, decent air conditioning, because you know, you really need a backup tractor. If you're relying on one tractor, and hay is so time sensitive, you put it on the ground, you need to get it up. You can't wait on parts and repairs. So I would consider an 886, maybe a clean 986, even a 1086 maybe, but for some reason the 886 with a D360. I don't particularly want the German diesel. I like that D360, and if I needed more power than that, they're close to a 90 horsepower machine, so I don't know that I would need any more power. But if I did, you can put a turbo on one of those D360s. So, but we're going to be getting that sickle bar mower on this tractor right here and mowing some of these patches and trying to make some square bales out of it. So we'll just kind of motor down through the orchard here and put this tractor back. That's kind of the video for today. Thought I'd kind of bring you up to speed on where we're at. We got probably 2/3 of our hay baled and in the barn. Our yields are probably down 2/3, so we're not exactly gonna have to park equipment outside because the barn's full of hay. It's just not gonna happen this year. And but you know, again, that's okay. This haying operation is not my day job, and if it was, we'd have probably fertilized anyway. But so let me just kind of leave it there, and I'll have some more videos out cutting hay and baling, and I've got one I'm gonna try to put together with the farm all, pulling some of these kicker wagons. So stay tuned, subscribe, comment, and come along for the ride on our hay odyssey here in 2022. And we'll talk to you later.